Hey, welcome to the Automate IT podcast. I'm your host, David van Heerden. This podcast is brought to you by Automox and a hurricane that's about to hit where I live. So I'm okay. I'm posted up here in Orlando, Florida. So we'll bear this storm together here. I hope everyone stays safe. But to get into the topic for this one is that of great security means that you have great IT. And I want to talk about what great IT really means, that in the sense of an automation perspective, right? So to rewind back to how I talked about automation and how we need to think about it and approach it, is that it's not just digitization, right? It's not just taking the process of writing a document, scanning it, and then faxing it to somebody and digitizing that into generating a document and then emailing it off or sending a share link, right? It's the same process, just digitized more intensely. That's not true automation. But instead approaching automation as a way to eliminate those processes altogether. And one example that I would like to give of how an IT automation mindset can be applied towards that of great security is thinking of things like multi-factor authentication as a big lift that we've all had to make a few years back, and then it's become a requirement in a lot of tools in the recent years. And IT teams have had to struggle greatly with the adoption of these kinds of tools and these solutions that come with access control. And one of the best examples that I can see about implementing multi-factor authentication from this true eliminating of process perspective is that of like biometric, fingerprint, passkey, and solutions like that of YubiKeys. In that, if we think about it with multi-factor authentication, right? It's the validation that we're used to with a email being sent with 6-digit code being sent, or a text message or a phone call with a 6-digit code. We already know that that's not hyper secure. There's a lot of ways around that. And so it's already not that great of a security thing, but hey, it's a compliance requirement. We can check the box if we have that email go out. But we still have that problem of the process of sending the code to somebody, them checking the other tool, their device or their inbox, to then read the code, remember it, put it in time, because it could refresh after 30 seconds, even with a further digitization of that code with an authenticator app. You still have the same process of getting a 6-digit code and putting it in as a way of validating. Whereas with an automation type approach of how do we eliminate the process altogether, as an IT operator, how do you deliver this thing? There's different ways. There's other ways of approaching multi-factor authentication that is a better, more seamless user experience. And that being like that of biometric, like fingerprint scan and YubiKeys, and passkeys, hard encoded passkeys on Windows and Mac machines. And so it's important to think about these challenges of meeting these compliance requirements, meeting these security requirements, thinking about the user adoption, and not just going towards the most common or what does everyone else do, but trying to think of how can I make the process as automated as possible, as seamless as possible for the end users. Now, I know I talked really fast and I blazed high level through this sort of stuff, but it's because I want to share something a bit meatier with everyone in this presentation of the ITSM practices, right? So this is from the Excelos ITIL v4 ITSM framework that they have. But I think it's important to sort of sit and stare at this for a little bit, because this is such a great example of all the things that information technology has to do right by the company. The architectural management, right? I want to call that one out, because I think when we hear architecture, we think technical architecture of our networking topology or where all of our Digital assets are built and configured on the cloud. But in this case of general management bucket, architecture management is the architecture of the organization. Do you have your chief information security officer reporting to the CTO, or does the CISO report to the CFO? Because there's more concern about compliance, regulatory, and that just makes more sense for the business from an architecture piece. But that means that the CISO is more aligned on, those sort of cost cutting, cost effective, and compliance perspectives, and then IT is on the efficiency, let the business do their job, stop getting things in our way kind of approach. So you have to look at the architecture that you have to get right and how your organization is formed to make sure that you can deliver great IT. So think of these in those buckets of general management is that of business oriented thought and work. Service management is about, how you build out the way that you serve the business. Think of like a restaurant, how you assemble a burger in the back of the kitchen, how you cook it and how you serve it at the table to the people who ordered it, the experience at the table, their experience of booking the reservation, before they got to the restaurant. Like, I love that analogy because I think it helps sort of orient what we're talking about when we say service management. And then there's the technical management that IT has to get right, which is maybe something that we're all a little more comfortable with because that's why we got into what we're doing. We love the tech, right? But it's a little shocking to see that technical management is just these three domains, whereas all these other things that we have to do are more service oriented, restaurant, right? Service oriented. And then general management, which is business oriented. And I think shifting that mentality over to those two columns and framing your problems under this perspective is a very important thing. So I'll leave this up on the screen because I'm sure it might, cause your eyes to dart around a little bit, but I do want to talk over it in this perspective of, okay, great IT is what is required for great security, right? Great security is nothing without great IT at the bottom of it. And so doing all of this right is how you deliver great IT. But this is a lot of stuff. There's so much here to do. It is overwhelming. The sheer number of these practices is just incredible. And then your mind can just start running on, oh my gosh, what's the difference between service design and service desk? I don't even understand that, right? But again, it comes down to the fundamental approach. Think of that restaurant thing where you don't overwhelm yourself on, okay, we say plating for a restaurant, right? How that burger is put on the plate and presented. You can overthink that as much as you want. At the end of the day, if it tastes good and they enjoyed how it tasted, they're happy, right? The plating is that little extra piece on top that really elevates the experience overall. So it's important not to overthink it. It does matter and it does influence and change things, but as long as you get the fundamental parts right, you're good to go. And so to talk about that fundamental part, it's thinking about the value that you deliver through this. So you're delivering food to somebody, it's got to taste good. That's the value ultimately at a fundamental level is the experience that they have with this. So think about it from, okay, we have all these security initiatives that we need to bring across. These security initiatives do not get done without this IT being delivered properly, without the core implementation of this being done right. What does it being done right mean? Being done right means that your end users receive it in a way that they go, oh my gosh, this is so much easier. The multi-factor authentication problem. Okay, we have to, for regulatory reasons and security reasons, roll out a robust password reset project and multi-factor enrollment project. My gosh, the business is going to hate this. How do we approach this? Well, let's think about it from the core delivery of how do we bring them a positive experience with this change? How do we adapt the organization to this new thing that makes their lives better? How do we enable the business to do their job better, not just implement a new roadblock? And when you follow that line of questioning, you start to steer away from well, let's just send everybody a text message with a 6-digit code. Let's get everybody to download an app that then rotates the code on their phone. Instead, you land on the, well, what if we just harden code passkeys onto everyone's laptops and devices so that we know they're accessing the resource from a valid, secure location, a la the laptop, and then it pre-authenticates them because we've done this difficult step once of enrolling that machine, validating that machine, and it's blessed from that point on, and it's secure and its access. And so thinking about it from that alignment towards the experience and how you deliver the service and in delivering value from a business side, then drives your technical angle and approach on how you solve this. So don't get lost into the weeds of the technicality of delivering a perfect technical solution. Think about delivering the perfect experience or the best experience that you can that fundamentally delivers the outcome that you need from a security level. So I just want to encourage that. There's a lot of examples I feel like I can run down, but I got to keep these things short. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn, reach out to our team here at Automux. There's many examples that we have via our worklet catalog on how you can, with a few clicks, just implement large sweeping changes in your organization without your end users even realizing it. So you can accomplish many security goals and objectives with minimal user disruption and easy adoption on that front. So thank you for listening. I hope I triggered some sort of thoughts. Please give me all of your feedback. I love to hear it. Till next time.